I don't even know how to start this without shaking. But here it is: my sister lied to us for years. And when the truth came out, it didn't just break our family, it obliterated it. We're the kind of broken now that doesn't heal. Not over time, not with space, not with prayers. You always hear stories like this, right? Families torn apart by something awful, drugs, cheating, inheritance fights. But this wasn't that. This was betrayal, wrapped in silence. A slow, careful lie that lived in our home like mold, growing in corners none of us looked. And it wasn't just any secret. It was about my father. God. Saying that out loud, it feels like vomiting glass. I remember the night everything unraveled. It was storming, that kind of storm that rattles your bones, makes you feel like something bad is coming. And I was just, I don't know, folding laundry or something normal. She just stood there in the doorway of the kitchen, pale, shaking like she'd swallowed lightning. And she said, "I have to tell you something about Dad." That sentence, it changed everything. My heartbeat slowed down so hard it hurt. The walls leaned in, and the air got thick like wet wool. I thought maybe he was sick. Maybe she'd caught him cheating. But what she said next, it made me forget how to breathe. I wish she'd never told me. I do. Because once you know something like that, you can't unknow it. You can't unsee what it does to everyone around you. I've gone over it 100 times. Why did she keep it from us? Why did she tell me then? Why did she wait until it was too late? And the worst part, I keep asking myself if I would have done the same, if I had buried it too, just to protect everyone from the pain. But the lie didn't protect us. It poisoned us. And now, years of birthdays, holidays, phone calls, they all feel fake. Like we were characters in a play she was directing in her head. And when she finally dropped the curtain, everything we were collapsed. I used to think I knew my family. Now I don't even know if we ever really existed. Was it all just a dream we shared? Or was I the only one asleep? I keep thinking about that moment, her voice trembling, eyes full of guilt. And I wonder, what kind of secret makes your sister afraid to tell you the truth? Before everything shattered, we were just us, a small, loud, messy family that laughed too much at dumb inside jokes and fought over what to eat for dinner like it was war. But it was good. It was warm. It felt safe, even when life outside the house didn't. My sister and I, we weren't just siblings. She was my person. The one who'd sneak me ice cream at midnight, who'd lie for me when I snuck out, who'd pull me into her bed when I had panic attacks and whisper, "You're okay, you're okay. I'm here." I used to think she was made of steel. Quiet, yeah, but sharp. Observant, like she saw things the rest of us missed. I thought it was a gift. Turns out it was something else. But before the lie, before the storm that tore through everything, she was the one I trusted more than anyone. And my dad. God, my dad. He was everything. He was the kind of man people noticed not because he was loud, but because he listened. He'd tilt his head just a little when you talked, like your words deserved space, every Sunday. He'd make pancakes shaped like hearts or dinosaurs, depending on your mood. He'd hum old songs in the kitchen, Fleetwood Mac mostly, and sway my mom around the floor like they were still teenagers. We weren't perfect, not even close. But there was this rhythm to it all. The sense that, no matter how chaotic the world got, we had each other. I remember one night a few years before everything blew up, we were all sitting in the living room watching some terrible movie. Popcorn everywhere, my dad groaning at the plot holes, mom trying to shush him, and Emma curled up next to me with her head on my shoulder. I looked around and thought, God, I hope nothing ever changes. But that's the cruel part, right? We never know when we're inside a memory until it's already over. Looking back, I can't stop thinking about those moments, the quiet ones, the ones that felt too simple to matter at the time, like Dad ruffling my hair as he passed, or Emma handing me a cup of tea without a word when she knew I was spiraling, or all of us crammed into the kitchen, music blaring, stepping on each other's toes while we made dinner. I miss those stupid, chaotic, beautiful seconds like oxygen. I'd give anything to go back, just for a minute, before the words were spoken, before the truth was let loose like a wild animal we couldn't cage. Sometimes I wonder, did she ever sit in those moments with us and feel the same warmth? Or was she always apart from it? Was she ever fully with us? Or was she already disappearing into the weight of what she knew? And if she was, why didn't I see it? Why didn't I notice my sister was drowning? It started with a question I should have never asked, just an offhand comment. One of those harmless little nothings you say while scrolling on your phone or waiting for coffee to finish. I remember it clearly. We were in the kitchen. Rain tapped the windows like it was trying to remind us of something we'd forgotten. I was stirring honey into my tea, and I said, "I think Dad's ever lied to us. It was stupid." I was half joking, just reacting to some documentary I'd watched the night before about people living double lives. Secret families, that kind of thing. Dark, twisted stuff that felt far away from us. But the way Emma went still, I should have noticed it then. How her hand paused midair, the spoon clinking against her cup too loud in the silence. She blinked like someone slapped her across the face. How her jaw clenched, just for a second, before she said, "Why would you ask that?" I laughed, said, "I don't know, just talking." But she didn't laugh. She just stared at me, eyes wide, like I'd opened a door she thought was locked forever. That moment haunts me more than anything, because if I'd shut up, if I'd just taken the hint and changed the subject, maybe none of this would have happened. But I pressed. I mean, everyone lies, right? Even good people. Maybe just small stuff. Still trying to make it light. She didn't answer. She just walked out of the room. I didn't follow, didn't think much of it. But something had cracked open. I just didn't know it yet. A few days later, I caught her in the hallway with Mom's old photo album in her hands. She was staring at this one picture of Dad before I was even born. It was creased at the edges, like she'd handled it too many times. When she noticed me watching, she slammed it shut like she was hiding something, like the image might crawl out if she let it breathe too long. "Emma," I said. I don't know what I was going to ask. I saw the panic in her eyes, saw her about to unravel, and then she said it. Quiet, so quiet, I thought I misheard. "I think he's not who we think he is." My chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" But she just shook her head, tears starting to pool in the corners of her eyes. "Forget it. I shouldn't be said anything." And then she ran upstairs. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something in me twisted, like a thread tugging in the back of my mind, pulling at everything I believed about my father. But even then, I still thought it was about something small. A mistake, a secret fling, debt, maybe a bad decision from his past. I didn't know. I couldn't imagine. It wasn't until weeks later, after I pushed again, after I begged her to tell me what she meant, that she finally broke. And when she did, when she told me the thing she'd been hiding for years, it felt like my skin peeled back from my bones. It wasn't a little secret. It wasn't forgivable. It was the kind of truth that buries itself in your chest and grows claws. And in that moment, as her voice cracked and she told me what Dad had done, who was he, what she'd found when she was 17 and never told anyone, I stopped being her sister. I became her confessor, her accomplice in the silence, and I hated her for it. And I loved her for trusting me. And I didn't know which one hurt more. Asterisk. After she told me, everything changed. Even the air between us felt heavier, like the truth had a smell to it, metallic and bitter, and it followed us around the house, clinging to our clothes, seeping into the walls. I didn't speak to her for 3 days. Not because I didn't believe her, God, I wish I hadn't, but because I did. Because the second she said it, I saw it. The cracks in the timeline, the strange phone calls, the look on Dad's face that night I found him, crying in the garage, whispering into his hands. It all made sense, and I hated that it did. I'd lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, going over every memory I had of him. Was that real? Was he lying then too? I couldn't tell anymore. Every time I looked at him after that, it felt like betrayal. Not his betrayal, mine, because I knew, and he didn't know I knew. He'd ask if I wanted to go for a drive or help him fix something in the shed, and I'd mumble excuses, eyes glued to my phone or the floor, anywhere but him. I remember him knocking on my door one evening, holding 2 mugs of cocoa like it was still 2009 and we were watching movies together. I couldn't even meet his eyes. I just said, "I'm not in the mood," and closed the door before he could speak. Behind it, I sank to the floor, chest caving in, crying into my sleeve like a coward. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to demand an explanation. But more than that, I wanted to rewind time. To be a little kid again, when his hugs fixed everything and his voice was gospel. And Emma, she changed, too. She stopped singing to herself in the morning, stopped dancing barefoot in the kitchen. She barely spoke unless I spoke first. We were stuck in this quiet war zone, both of us carrying the same grenade, just waiting to see who would drop it first. And Mom had no idea. She still smiled at him like he hung the moon, still laughed at his dumb dad jokes and rubbed his back when he coughed too hard. Watching her love him without knowing the truth, it broke something in me. Every time she kissed him goodnight, I had to turn away. Every time she said, "We're lucky to have him," I wanted to claw my skin off. I'd sit at the dinner table, fork in hand, stomach in knots, listening to the sound of their laughter like it was echoing through a tunnel, like I was already gone. The silence grew teeth. It bit into everything. No one talked about why I wasn't smiling anymore. No one asked why Emma looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. We all just kept pretending. That was the worst part, pretending we were still a family. Pretending we hadn't all been poisoned by the truth, even if only two of us had tasted it. Sometimes I think about telling Mom. I think about sitting her down, holding her hands and saying, "There's something you need to know." But every time I get close, my throat closes, because once it's out, there's no putting it back. And maybe I don't want to be the one who destroys her world. Maybe that's why Emma kept it in for so long. But the silence, it's not quiet anymore. It's screaming all the time. And no matter how loud I play music, how far I drive, how long I stare at a screen just to forget, I can still hear it. The truth doesn't disappear. It just waits for someone to finally say it out loud. Some nights, I lie in bed and replay it all. Every word Emma said, every detail she confessed, every breath I took after learning the truth that ruined everything I thought I understood about my life. And then I spiraled. It starts slow. What if she was wrong? What if she misunderstood something? But then, that part of me that knows better, the one that's sharper now, colder, older in ways I never wanted to be, it shuts those thoughts down, because she wasn't wrong. She was never wrong. And that's what's killing me. I keep thinking, if she just lied to me instead of lying to everyone, maybe I wouldn't be unraveling like this. Maybe I could have kept floating in that bubble. Maybe I could have just kept loving him. But now I feel like I'm loving a ghost wrapped in someone else's skin. And I hate myself for still needing him. Isn't that sick? I know what he did. I know what Emma saw. I know he's not who I thought he was. But there are still moments, tiny, fleeting seconds where I wish I could curl up next to him on the couch and rest my head on his shoulder like I used to. Like the truth never came. Like I was still his daughter. God, I feel so messed up. And Emma, she's fading. It's like the secret hollowed her out, and she's just walking around in the shell of herself. I try to reach her, sometimes. Try to say something, anything, to bring us back to who we used to be. But all we ever do is circle the edge of the wound. No one wants to go back into the center of it. We both know if we go there again, we might not come back. I've tried everything to drown it out. Parties, distractions, sleeping way too much, scrolling until my eyes hurt, drinking until the world blurs around the edges, but it's still there. Every damn time I close my eyes. And then there's the guilt. God, the guilt. Not just for what he did, but for staying silent, for protecting my mother with the lies she never asked for looking at my father and pretending I don't know what he's capable of. What kind of person does that make me? I ask myself that at least 10 times a day, and the answers are never kind. I feel like I'm stuck in the middle of a war where no one's holding weapons, but everyone's bleeding anyway. I see it in my mom's smile, still soft, still whole, still untouched by the rot under the surface. I see it in Emma's eyes, tired, red-guarded. And I see it in the mirror. A version of me that flinches when my father hugs me, that feels sick when he says he's proud, that bites her tongue so hard it bleeds just to keep the peace. I don't know who I am anymore. Not really. I'm not the girl who trusted her dad. I'm not the sister who believed in absolutes. I'm not the daughter who could look her mother in the eye without choking on lies. I'm just floating, caught in this in-between place where love and disgust coexist, where loyalty feels like a curse, and silence is a poison I keep swallowing because I don't know how to stop. I ask myself, am I protecting them? Or am I just too afraid of what the truth will destroy next? And the worst part is, I don't know anymore. I don't. It didn't end with a fight. No slammed doors, no screaming, no dramatic reveal where everything explodes, and somehow that makes it easier. It ended quietly, like a slow leak in a tire. No one hears it at first, but eventually, you're stranded on the side of the road with no way to move forward. That's what happened to us. Emma moved out first, said she needed space. No one questioned it. She packed up her things in silence, barely making eye contact with anyone. Dad helped her carry her boxes to the car. He smiled the whole time. I stood in the doorway, watching him load the last of her things, thinking, you don't even know why she's leaving, do you? And maybe that was the point. She didn't say goodbye to him. Not really. She hugged Mom tight, kissed her cheek, Then she looked at me, and it was like a whole conversation passed between us without a single word. I knew she wasn't coming back. Not really. After she left, everything got smaller, quieter, colder. The laughter at dinner was thinner. The jokes were shorter. Dad kept asking if I'd heard from her. I kept lying. Mom cried more. She thought Emma was just going through something. She kept saying, she'll come around. And I'd nod like I believed her. But I didn't. And then, one night, I did it. I almost told her. We were doing dishes. The kitchen smelled like lavender soap and chicken from dinner. It was one of those soft, ordinary nights that feel safe enough to ruin. And I opened my mouth. I said, Mom, there's something I need to tell you. And she turned to me with this look, so open, so trusting. And I froze, because I saw the whole collapse. Right there. The moment her world would split in half. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't be the one. So I shook my head and said, never mind. Just forget it. She smiled and said, okay, sweetheart, and went back to drying the plates. I don't think I've forgiven myself for that moment. Emma eventually stopped texting back. Her replies turned from paragraphs to yeah, and I'm fine to nothing. And Dad, he's still here. Still making pancakes on Sundays. Still asking me if I want to go on a walk or catch a movie. Still humming Fleetwood Mac in the kitchen. Sometimes I catch myself watching him, searching for a flicker, guilt, remorse, anything that proves he knows what he's done. But he just looks normal, and that messes with my head more than anything. How can someone be so ordinary and still be capable of something so devastating? I've written 1,000 letters to Emma. Some angry, some apologetic. Most of them are just messy, aching rambles full of things I wish I could undo. None of them get sent. I keep thinking time will dull it, that one day I'll wake up and the weight will feel lighter. But it doesn't. The silence is still here, louder than ever. Our family still pretends. Mom still lives in the version of our life that makes sense. Dad still plays the part. And I'm stuck in the space between truth and peace. Caring, it's been for years. For Christmases without Emma. For birthdays where I pretended to blow out candles without wishing for the only thing I wanted. For her to walk through the door like none of it ever happened. I don't know where she is now. I mean, I do technically. She lives somewhere up north, has a job, an apartment, and a cat she named Ghost. We exchange the occasional birthday text, but it's like talking to a stranger who just happens to share your memories. And even though time has passed, even though people say things heal, some wounds don't. Some just stop bleeding long enough to look like scars, but they still burn. I think about that a lot. What healing means. Because if this is healing, it doesn't feel like what they promised. It feels like learning how to function while a part of you stays permanently offline. Like driving with the check engine light on, hoping the car doesn't stop in the middle of nowhere. Mom still doesn't know. Now and then she'll ask, do you ever talk to your sister? And I'll say, yeah, sometimes. And she'll smile like that's enough. Like that means we're okay. But we're not. We're nowhere close to okay. And Daddy's still here, still smiling, still pretending. He's older now. A little slower. His hair's grayer. His jokes don't land the way they used to. But he still hums when he cooks. Still acts like nothing ever cracked open beneath our feet. I used to wait for the day he'd come clean. I imagine it so many times. Him sitting me down, his voice low, tears in his eyes, telling me he knew, that he was sorry, that he'd been living with it too. But that day never came. And I finally stopped waiting. I realized something a year or so ago. We don't always get closure. Sometimes the people who break us don't even know they've done it. Sometimes they live their whole lives untouched by the mess they made in someone else's chest. And we're left sweeping up the pieces, trying to make art out of broken glass. I don't hate him. I wish I did. It'd be easier than this constant tug of war in my heart. But the truth is, I miss him. And I hate myself for that. For still love the version of him that raised me. For needing something from someone who doesn't even know. He's responsible for the hollow space in my life. And Emma, if you ever hear this somehow, I'm sorry for not holding you tighter when you fell apart. For expecting you to carry the weight of the truth alone. For being so goddamn angry when you were just trying to survive. You were right to tell me, even if it broke us. Even if I wish you hadn't. Because we were living in a house built on rot. And love like that, no matter how sweet, can't stay standing forever. I still dream about us sometimes. The way we used to be. The soft version of our lives where love didn't hurt. And Sunday mornings smelled like pancakes and laughter. Then I wake up and remember, That version of us is gone, maybe forever. And all that's left now is this ache, this silence, and the question I'll never stop asking myself: if telling the truth destroys everything,